Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 156 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on March 28th, 2023. How are all you wonderful folks doing? I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm also burning the candle at 100 ends right now. Yeah. I have huge test programs going on unrelated to Pew Science and also Pew Science is gangbusters. So it's hard to believe it's been 3 years of this. You know, that's right. This past Sunday was the third anniversary of the launch of the Silencer Sound Standard. Yeah, it's crazy, right? So on today's episode, I'll go into a discussion about Surefire silencers. We'll hit the technical discussion of the Surefire SOCOM762-MINI2 data that I released on the anniversary this past Sunday. And, you know, I want to talk a little bit about these past 3 years and what has happened during that time. And I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be a good episode, okay? Yeah, so I'm glad you can join me. At first, I would like to give a quick word about my gracious sponsors, such as Top Gun Range Houston. That's right. If you're in the Houston area, if you're just visiting or whatever, they're worth checking out. They have a 15-lane indoor range, the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. You can rent pistols, rifles, shotguns, machine guns. It's pretty cool. All right. Go ahead and check out their firearm rental inventory on their website at topgunrange.com. You can also find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range. Yeah, go check them out. Good folks over there. We want to do an appearance there later this year. I'm going to go there and maybe meet some of you consumers and stuff. So we're trying to get that scheduled. Just don't know when right now. Pretty booked, so we're going to figure that out, but it should be cool. I'm looking forward to meeting some of you folks in the Houston area. My old stomping grounds, as it were. Secondly, this podcast is brought to you by High-End Armament Technology, a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. Yeah, they have a lot of stuff, and they've been in the game for a very long time. You know, significant longevity in the machine gun game, night vision, thermal, infrared sighting systems. If there's something you're looking for and you can't find it, Robert and his crew are going to find it for you. Okay, check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which you guessed it, is High End Arms. All right. I hope they can help you. Tell them Jay sent you. And, as always, we do have supporters from Silencer Shop. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process. It's pretty good. You get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. Okay, and as always, there are discount codes at pewscience.com/podcast in the show notes there for True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona, and of course Magpul. Use the code PSTEN for $10 off your order of $100 or more at magpul.com. So when you're stocking up on mags for the apocalypse or the political apocalypse or whatever happens, you might save some money. And finally, this podcast is brought to you by Pew Science, and for the past 3 years, it has pushed the silencer industry forward one test at a time, just like I said I would on the website there 3 years ago. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. It's based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. And it is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard with 7 sections with the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the entire world. Check it out at pewscience.com, and you can support this podcast. You can support Pew Science. You can support all the testing I do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It is awesome. It helps. And if you're more into like a single contribution and not a membership, that's okay too. There's a donate feature. That helps too. And you know what? It doesn't have to be monetary. Something that's free and doesn't cost you anything that can really help. Give the podcast a good rating on your favorite podcast provider like iTunes or Spotify. Spread the word. Let's normalize suppressed small arms. Okay, we've been at this for 3 years. I think we made a lot of progress. Let's keep it going. All right? Thanks, guys. I have two topics for you today. Two major topics. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6106. The Surefire SOCOM762-MINI2 on Supersonic 308. That's right. This is the technical discussion of the article published on Sunday. Tons of Surefire data is now available for you, more than ever before. So that's good. We'll talk about that. And then topic 2, 3 years since the silencer sound standard and the Pew Science suppression rating became a reality. They were launched in March of 2020, and it would be nice to talk about how the silencer industry changed since that time. I just want to give a brief overview. I don't know where that topic will go, but we're going to take it where it goes, okay? So we're going to hit topic 1. Sorry, I'm trying to get a piece of paper to write this down. Topic 1 at a time of 5 minutes and 56 seconds. Okay, just taking notes here. Try to take notes every podcast here in case there's something I miss. All right, 1 second. Okay. Man, I'm tired, I'm stressed, but I'm so excited about this episode. I can't believe it's been 3 years. Mrs. Pew Science and I celebrated this past weekend. It's just amazing. I can't. Someday you guys are going to get the story about how it all really started. Like, she's been there since the beginning for me. We had a discussion one day or one night, and I came up. I wrote it all down like on a napkin or envelope or something. I had the idea for a decade, and yeah, so here we are now, 3 years after I launched it, and it's working. So we'll talk about that in topic 2. But right now, in topic 1, I want to talk about this Surefire stuff, man. It's like peas and carrots at this point. That's a really bad analogy because peas and carrots don't taste that good. Because who likes peas? That's gross. But what is it like? I'm trying to think of a cliche, something that goes together. Salt and pepper or something, like you have this Pew Science and these Surefire silencers, and it's just the way the research progression has gone. This SOCOM762-MINI2 Supersonic 308, the 106th article in the standard. We talk about Surefire, we talk about the war comp. I mean, do you even know why the war comp mount is suboptimal for suppression? A lot of you are new. You might not even understand that. You might not even have read the article. So let's talk about this. And I'm so glad we're able to get to this silencer. And I was sitting here before I hit record here. I was actually looking at the website. Before I started recording this episode, I went to the rankings table in section 7, and I counted the entries from Surefire, and there were 9. And that's not even counting the research supplements or the other studies that have included Surefire data. And so if you click the metadata tag, like the Surefire metadata tag under the most recent article, there's 6 more articles that come up. And so that means there's at least 15 Surefire data sets and examinations in the silencer sound standard. Okay. And it just so happens that happened. It's not. It wasn't planned. It wasn't planned by me to do that when I started this. I didn't mean to put a bunch of Surefire in here. Like that wasn't. I didn't wake up one morning. Oh boy, can't wait to add a bunch of Surefire to my website. No, dude, I have no reason. Didn't even think about it. Didn't know where it was going to go. It's just something that naturally evolved from the research. Okay, and if a lot of you remember, which I think you do, I think a lot of you who have been listening probably do remember this. My first experience with testing Surefire silencers was with the full-size SOCOM762 RC2. And because I was just starting the large publication push to get the pure suppression metrics and fingerprints published for the public, I had started with it on the 308 bolt gun. I didn't know any other way, right? I was like, no, we can't go to semi-auto. We have to start with bolt gun. It's very important to understand pure suppression. We have to eliminate as many variables as possible. The scientist and engineer in me, it was like, nope, bolt gun. I'm going to push this bolt gun. I'm going to keep doing it. And so when I did that test with the Surefire silencer, you got to keep in mind, I never even used the Surefire silencer before that test. I never even used one. I didn't have any reason to. I wasn't in that world. So I didn't use the Surefire. And so when I tested it, you got to realize I was borrowing silencers from everywhere to test. And it just so happens when I borrowed the 762 RC2, the dealer who loaned it to me sent a 3-prong flash hider and a war comp mount. And the testing with those 2 mounts led me to call Surefire directly. And I had a phone call with Barry Duke, the designer of the silencer, and his team. I called them direct. This is when the early days of Pew Science in 2020, guys. Okay. I called Surefire because I had experienced one of the craziest things ever, and it was so crazy to me. I was like, I have to talk to these guys. Something's wrong. I need to know what's happening. It's something I'd never experienced before. When I shot the 762 RC2 with the war comp, I thought the gun blew up. Thank God I was wearing safety glasses. I got a big shock load on my face using a 20-inch bolt-action 7.62 NATO round. 20 inches long, that barrel. And it was still insane to me. To this day, I remember it. I remember the weather, what the sky looked like. I remember what the blast pressure felt like on my face. If you go back and you look at Sound Signature Review 6.26 from 2020 of the 7.62 RC2 on the 20-inch bolt gun, you can see how far the suppression rating drops. You can see how far it drops at the shooter's ear with the war comp compared to the 3-prong. And if you are a Pew Science member, you can see the actual shock load at the shooter's face. At my face when I shot it. There's a literal blast load measured at the ear sensor. I felt that overpressure on my face. That's what I felt. A blast load, a shock load, a blast load, overpressure. Instantaneously applied overpressure in air is a shock. Okay? You can see the pressure and impulse in data space in the article. And that was published in 2020. In 2020. And it was real back then, and it's real today, and it'll be real tomorrow. Okay, those are physics, and that curious event that led me down a path to understand what the heck was happening, and we ended up finding out that the war comp wasn't really ever designed to be a great silencer mount. It was designed as a battle compensator on which the user could place a silencer in a pinch if they needed to, okay? It's a compensator. It's made to keep your barrel super level when you're shooting it by jet thrusting at the top of the compensator. It's jet thrust, counteracting recoil mechanics, guys. That's what the war comp, it's a compensator. It just so happens you can put a silencer on it. Now, is that a design philosophy I agree with? We're not talking about that. I'm not talking about my opinion. I'm giving you the facts, okay? So, in 2020, the public service announcement was made by me, by Pew Science, that the use of war comp mounts with Surefire silencers may result in abnormal hazard to the weapon operator. I wrote that down in writing, black and white, on my website. I don't change it after I write it. It's there, okay? That caution was made by me due to what I experienced firsthand during testing, and because I had the data to back it up. And this wasn't a fluke. Okay, this wasn't a fluke. I did multiple tests. And then what happened? What happened after that? After I did that? Maybe some people didn't know about Pew Science, right? So I did that. Then what happened? Well, then fast forward to review 52. I did the same thing again, but on a different platform, completely different platform. And what happened? What happened? Pew Science proved that this wasn't just a 762 phenomenon. It happens on 5562, and it happens on ARs as well as on bolt guns, doesn't it? It happens on ARs as well as on bolt guns. It happens on the Mark 18. Okay, examine the suppression rating difference at the shooter's ear with the two mounts on the Mark 18. Same story. And if you're a Pew Science member, examine the pressure and the impulse waveforms at the shooter's head. If you go back to Review 52, it's figure 10A in that article. By the way, for members, if you want to go look back in 52, look at figure 10A if you remember. So you can see the shock load again at my face. You can see the shock load. Did I feel it in the test? Yes. I certainly did. I certainly did. It's actually worse. Did you know, and this is something important for you to understand, it's worse on your face than it is at your ear, right? So it's actually worse than what you see in the data on my face. Okay? So that's real. That was 2021. Didn't I see... That's actually a good point. I was just thinking... We did it again, didn't we, on the Mark 18? Because I also did, and I just pulled up the rankings. I also did it again in 2022. Because I put the 762 RC2 on the Mark 18, and I tested the war comp again. Again. Yeah, I just pulled that up. Oh yeah, look at the freaking shooter's ear rating drops, and I'm in the member review. Let me scroll down and look at the shock. Oh, look at that. Huge shock load, huh? Funny how there's blast pressure measured at my face, and I felt that again. It's jetting back at you. It's jetting right there. On the Mark 18, it's right there. All right, it's right there. Okay, so you saw it in 2020. You saw it in 2021. You saw it in 2022. Okay, you saw it 3 years in a row. You saw the same phenomenon. And now it's 2023. And guess what? I'm not doing any more war comp testing. Guys, we know how they work. Okay? So if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to Pew Science, go check out article 26 and 52 and 73 and you'll see it. You'll know what happens, and it'll help you if you use these silencers. Okay, I just want you to understand what's there, and I think what I did. It's funny, and I had forgotten about Article 73. I need to put that in the review because I referenced at the top. I talked about the 762 RC2. In review 26 and the 556 RC2 on 52, I never even put the 73 in there. So let me make a note to myself. Add reference to article 673. I can't believe I forgot to put that reference in there too. I actually spent all day writing this like on Saturday because I didn't have any time before that. So kind of rushed it. I hope the article quality was still to your standards, but yeah. So I didn't like cross-reference everything. So that's important. You got three years in a row of war comp data to caution you, right? So that's important. So you have this refresher, right, on why I just did this 762-MINI2 with 3-prong on 308. Like, why the hell would I do war comp, right? So there's no way I was going to repeat that. I already knew the silencer was going to be louder than the full-size RC2, right? We already knew a Mini 2 is going to be louder than the full-size RC2, right? So why would you subject yourself to additional high-pressure jetting behind the end cap? What, you have a high-pressure jetting source closer to your face. Do we need to understand that now? I think, would it benefit the public? Yes, they would have that other data point. But if you've been following the research and you have all this stuff on the website, then there's no reason to expect it would be any different. Okay, so it really wouldn't help me. It really wouldn't help you. It probably wouldn't help anyone in the big scope of things, right? We already know the answer about the war comp. So let's talk about the 3-prong performance of the Mini 2, the 762 Mini 2. Let's talk about it on a bolt action. Let's talk about it with 762 NATO. Okay, in review 106. Let's talk about this. Back to basics. Bolt gun land, baby. Okay, so pull it up. I just pulled it up on pewscience.com. All right, here. I pulled up the member version. And again, as always, guys, this is typical. The podcast after review is released, I always go over the article. Technically, just what I do. I pull up the member review because it's most comprehensive. I will not alienate you if you're not a member. Don't worry. You can follow along with the free version just as easily. Okay. All right. Just so you know, and I actually have it on my desk right here. I have this this silencer on my desk right here. I have a brown one. You know, Surefire sent me this silencer one time to help me. They don't contribute to the effort like monetarily, and they don't, like, they're not a member or anything. You know, they don't contract with me, but I don't know, like, I got to know them, and like they sent me some silencers, and I was like, that's cool. It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna test it then. Might as well, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. This one in particular, this is the only. No, I think they sent me an old RC full size, but I haven't tested that old RC. But all the other Surefire silencers I've borrowed or I've bought them. Like this RC2. Actually, I think I had bought two 556 RC2s, because right now I'm handling in my hand here. I have a 556 RC2 and the 762 Mini 2, and they're extremely similar. They're the same size, you know. But it's just the orifice is bigger in the Mini 2 than the 556 RC2. Bigger bullet, bigger hole, right? Yeah. I forget. I was looking through it. I was going to try to count the baffles, but my eyes are not letting me do that. I was like, I couldn't quite see with the light. I have to do that later. But I forget if the baffle count is different. Whatever. It's funny. A lot of folks might think the silencers would perform very similarly on the Mark 18. Due to their size. You might think that. We'll talk about that performance when I publish it later. Because it is interesting. Kind of maybe dispel some myths for you folks that don't understand these silencers, but it'll be cool. But right now, let's talk about the 762 Mini 2 on the 762 NATO. So if you look at the article here on pewscience.com, article 106, the bottom line up front, 25.1 composite suppression rating on a bolt action 308 rifle. What does that mean? Well, 18.6 at the muzzle, 23.5 at the ear. It's almost like what are we in Mark 18 land or something? You know, you guys are used to seeing Mark 18 numbers. Excuse me. You're used to seeing Mark 18 numbers recently. Oh, 1 second. Hold on. Sorry. A frog in my throat. You gotta reset your brain. This isn't the Mark 18, right? This is reset your brain. Okay, think about your deer rifle or think about your precision rifle. We're in bolt gun land right now, and a 23.5 suppression rating at the ear. It's gonna wake you up, Buttercup. All right, not quiet. It's not quiet, dude. 23.5 at the ear. It's not quiet. Okay, I know that if you're thinking about Mark 18 land, you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty good. No. This is a bolt-action rifle. 23.5 at the ear, guys. Okay? Come back to reality. Okay, this is not an AR. We can actually suppress this at the ear more. Okay? This can get tolerable, but this isn't. 23.5 is loud, dude. Okay, that's loud. Go ahead and scroll down past table 1. Past table 1 now, and get to figure 1. That's right. Get to figure 1, the fingerprints. Yeah, something you may notice right away. Significant high pressure amplitude. Significant high pressure amplitude starts there in figure 1A. You see figure 1A there. I think it's blowdown. The blowdown's real fast, exponentially, per typical, but quite expediently. When you zoom in, which you can definitely do with Pew Science because you can get figure 1B. When you zoom in figure 1B, that's where it becomes immediately apparent that it's Shock Load Town, USA. Population U. Yeah, that's right. Big old shocks, and they happen immediately. Yeah. Why is that? Why does the signature look like that from the 762 Mini 2 on a 762 NATO bolt-action rifle, 1 meter left of the end cap in the free field? Why does it look like that? Well, the 762 Mini 2 is not a gas trap. It's not a gas trap by any sense of the word. Okay, it flows fast. It flows hard. It flows aggressively. It's a K silencer. It doesn't have K in the name, though, but it does have a different word in the name, mini. And mini it is. Miniature. Yeah, you see, because Surefire is like, they're like America. K, if you put the K in a name, that's like short for Kurtz, which is German for short. Surefire is like, nah, son, we're going to use miniature because we speak English. No, I have no idea. I'm guessing. But anyway, same thing. K, mini, whatever. It's small. All right, tiny. By Surefire silencer standards and by 308 silencer standards, it's small. Okay, it's small. For the Surefire technology, dude, this is a tiny implementation of it. Now, is it durable? Sure. Compatible with their mounts? Yeah. Looks cool? Sure. Good flash reduction? Yeah. Okay, all those things are true. Excessively fast impulse accumulation in the free field? You bet your butt that's right. That's right. And now you see the essence of flow rate. The essence of low back pressure without using a flow-through design. You see a fast venting Surefire we know and love, but in an envelope that's too small for the huge combustion of the 7.62 NATO cartridge. That's right. You get what you see in Figure 2. Scroll a little bit down. That's right. Figure 2. It's the pay dirt, guys. It's so beautiful. Look how fast it rises to peak. This is primo Omega Metric 7.62 demonstration. And this is very important. You guys know the really cool thing about these impulse fingerprints of Figure 2. In Figure 2. In Figure 2, you look at these, right? Look at Figure 2B. Figure 2B, you can really see it. You look at this, like right after it starts to rise, and then a whole 3 years, after the Big Brother silencer was tested in 2020 and published. Look at the step functions. Look at that initial step function, 29.8 milliseconds in Figure 2B. And look how the shots 2 and 3 after the FRP. Look at the step. Look at the step. Look at the initial step functions after the FRP. You see them right there? Yeah. Same fingerprint feature in the Mini 2 as the 7.62 RC2. This is real. That's right. What do I always tell you? You can't fake it, dude. You can't fake it. You cannot fake this. It's impossible. It wouldn't be consistent after all these years. It'd be crazy. How awesome is this, though? 3 years later, you're getting consistent fingerprint data from PewSoft from PewScience. 3 years later. Count the number of people who doubted this. Then show them these 2 articles and ask them to explain their doubt. Impossible. That's sweeter than sweet, baby, right there. That's awesome, dude. Just this is little nuggets, these little Easter eggs. Just you look at it, you're like, oh man. You can see it if you're familiar enough with the data and you really look at it. And I really try hard. Like I don't know if you know this, but like in these 3 years, the publication quality and like the way I present these, it's improved, right? You've noticed it. Look, you notice how the data is like just really like just clean, like super clean. Yeah, man, I'm getting better at my job, right? I don't stay stagnant. I get better at everything. So yeah. Awesome, that is. Awesome. So, and you know what's really cool about this silencer? Or this data, really? This case study here? I think of all of these tests as case studies. That's why they are expensive to produce. And you can call them expensive in time or monetary. It's the same thing. And if you don't agree with that, you will someday in your life. They're expensive. Computationally, analytically, and monetarily expensive. And you know what's really cool about this particular study? I used this silencer on my 7.62 SCAR, on my 13-inch SCAR. I've shot this silencer recreationally, and I'm here to tell you that it's not quiet. Okay. What happens when you drop the barrel length by 7 inches and go from 20 inches to 13 on 308? It doesn't get more pleasant. Okay, if that's what you maybe thought. If you said, gosh, we're making it shorter, it's going to be better. No. Maybe you think because it has low back pressure, my scar was super quiet or something. No, dude. No. Imagine what figure 1 and 2 would look like with the barrel 7 inches shorter, homie. Imagine. Hazardous. Okay, I haven't measured it, but I will. Also, not to get too far off track, but I was thinking about the scar. I definitely have one of my old surplus high-speed cameras working. I got it working recently. What I had to do, it's an old camera. I had to run its software in a virtual machine on an old version of Windows. I had to use an old version of Windows on a virtual machine. Because the camera the camera software will work, but the camera driver doesn't work on 64-bit Windows 10. So I had to install a virtual machine like Windows XP, anyway. So that's cool. I need to show you SCAR bolt carrier motion with high-speed video. So anyway, I'm gonna get that. I had forgot about the camera, and I pulled it out the other day and was messing with it, and so I finally got this. I got an image. I got it on the computer, and I was like, oh sweet, I was like, okay, camera's working, so I'll figure that out. Get some super high frame rate for you. It'll be awesome. Some real Pew Science video there. I'll have to put it on my website or something, or like a YouTube, or I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll update the Pew Science YouTube page or something, like with a video. It doesn't have any videos on it, so. Okay, back to the silencer. Let's look at the omega metric. Yeah, speaking of the scar and back pressure and all this stuff and like weapon function, let's talk pragmatically. Haven't published the omega metric in a while, have I? Yeah, that's right. That's we've been on 10-inch 5.56 for a minute, and when you're on that, that's erratic and it's crazy. And I don't think we should publish those parameters on that barrel. But on 20-inch 308, it's more reliable. And here we are. Let's go ahead and check out figure 5 and figure 6. I'm scroll down. It's past the member stuff, which is very important. Boom, boom, boom. Man, that's good data. I'm just saying, like, it's really clean. I don't know if you Pew Science members noticed that, but dang, man, those plots in the member section, look how clean they are. Isn't that awesome, dude? I'm just getting really good at it. Like, I'm really proud of that. It's cool. Okay, figure 5. Yeah, figure 5 and 6. Yeah. Okay, now look how the SOCOM762 metric is for the Mini 2. Scroll down. Actually, let's talk about scroll down all the way to figure. I'm gonna do this backward. Let's start with figure 6, then we'll go back to figure 5. Okay. So figure 6, it's the logarithmic scale. It's better for omega. The only reason I put omega in figure 5 is because people want it, but I do believe you should not look at it on a linear scale. I believe it's much more useful to you looking at it logarithmically. Okay. So in figure 6. And holistically in figure 6 with the zones. So you see the Omega 762 metric for the SOCOM762-MINI2 from Surefire is pretty low, 0.05 roughly there on the cusp of zone 1 and 2. It is down near OSS, vented Helios QD stuff, super low. Now, it's kind of fortuitous that I have recent experience with the silencer on the SCAR, and I can tell you that when I ran it on my SCAR, with the Scarburator, I used the same gas setting as the Hyperion K. And it worked the same. The gun seemed to work the same. Now, I didn't measure it with high-speed video, but the gun was functioning similarly with M80 ball from the 13-inch SCAR when I was shooting. Understand? That's an anecdotal report, but I'm telling you, I had the same setting on the Scarburator. You feel me? Same gas setting, okay? Okay. Same gas jet. Didn't change the gas jet. Same carburetor setting. That's what it required to run. And the Hyperion K has the Omega 762 0.08. So that has a 0.08. The Surefire is a 0.05. It's interesting, yeah. It's interesting. And I bet we could go higher than 0.08 with the SCAR. but that's what I've done so far, right? So this is just it's interesting to look at it like this. Now, you look at these other silencers down here in this range. Does the HXQD762 behave the same way on the SCAR as the Surefire Mini2 because they have the same omega metric on the chart? I would say probably not. The omega metric is a research parameter, but I don't think it has the resolution to delineate exact weapon function mirroring for the range. I don't think that's how that works. I think more research is needed for that. I think it's a peg point, and so far the peg point's working. Okay, look at the zones. On the cusp of zone 1 and 2, both of those silencers. Then look, and then what's in the Hyperion K in zone 3? Okay. Then look at table 2 below the chart. What does table 2 says? It says I have zones 1 through 7 there, and I have a delineation. And in zone 1, I say normal function. Zone 2 rarely affects function. Zone 3 minimally affects function on all but the most gas-sensitive weapons. And that those descriptions, what's the column heading say? Postulated potential qualitative functional influence on semi-automatic or automatic weapon systems. Okay, that's what the SCAR is. So I think we're down in there. Normal function or rarely affects function for the Surefire. I think that's very fair to say for this silencer in my experience. I think that's what other people have also reported. That's what the silencer does. That's what the omega metric says it does. That's where we are. Here we are. We're there. Okay, that's the current state of that. The omega metric in action. That's a real case study right there. Topical for you. Review 106. Okay. I hope that helps. Is it perfect? No. Is it pretty good? Yeah, pretty good. It's an indicator. It's pretty interesting. Now that's a research parameter. It's not the suppression rating. The omega metric is a mad scientist research parameter. Okay. It's literally derived on my website. It's insane. Now let's talk about relative suppression. That's right. Go back up to figure 5. That's right. Figure 5. Now, what I did was I ordered figure 5 in the order of omega. Per typical. Actually, I always do that. Except for 300 blackout subs. That I don't. But for the Mark 18 articles, I do. I just don't publish the Omega 556 because the barrel's too short for uniform combustion gradient. Now, look where the Mini 2 is on this chart and look at the suppression rating at the muzzle and ear. Okay? Interesting. Neck and neck with the Sandman K, really, right? At the shooter's ear. But then to bystanders, quieter. Interesting. Different sound field. Now, look at the HXQD762. Same metric, right? Same omega metric. OSS silencer completely dominates the Surefire in sound suppression to the human ear. Okay? It's like a different sport. It destroys the Surefire Mini 2. See how crazy this is? And they have the same omega metric, right? Isn't that wild? That's so crazy. But it shows the mechanisms of suppression and why they're both letting gas out super fast, but HXQD762 is doing a lot more heat transfer, isn't it? Interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. It's very interesting how this is working. Look at the Hyperion K. Look at the Hyperion K. A little bit higher omega. A little bit higher omega, sure, but guess what? Works the same with the same gas setting on my SCAR as the Mini 2. It's interesting, right? Now look at the suppression difference, though. Look at the suppression difference. I mean, the Hyperion K is quieter. All right? So for me, a 13-inch SCAR owner, why would I use a Mini 2 instead of a Hyperion K? Okay, that's a hypothetical question. Well, what's one reason you might use a Mini 2 instead of a Hyperion K? Well, maybe I already have one. Or maybe you like the QD mount or something, I guess. Or maybe you like the way it looks. I don't know, dude. I'm giving an example of how to use the data. Understand? But you understand like my personal conundrum. Like, why would I use the Mini 2? I'm telling you, well, I like the way it looks and the mount's cool. It's fast to take off. You understand? You see, these are real questions. These are real questions of like why you use silencers, why you don't. Now look at the Salmon S. This comparison is super interesting, right? At the muzzle, to bystanders, the signature is almost the same severity on a 20-inch bolt action as the Mini 2, isn't it? Yeah, the red bar, 18.6 versus 18.6. It's the same, right? That's crazy. But at the shooter's ear, the Salmon's quieter, right? Salmon's quieter at the shooter's ear. But it's longer. It's further away from your head. Sound feels a little different shape due to the flow rate. So yeah, it's interesting, right? So all the silencers on this chart, all the silencers on this chart are in Omega Zone 4 and below in order. Okay, I didn't want to add more to this chart. I didn't want to add more silencers to the chart because it gets too big with all that info. So if you need to compare more, use the rankings table. That's one method. I might add an experimental sort method to the rankings table for members. I don't want the public using that to sort because it doesn't have the same robustness as the suppression rating, and I don't want people to get confused. It's not responsible. So I might make an experimental sorting table separate from the primary rankings table for folks to use. It might help you, although it's extremely dangerous because as we talked about, the Omega zones. You know what I could do? Oh shoot! You know what I could do? Just put the zone instead of the Omega metric. I actually thought about that, about not publishing the Omega metric and just giving you the Omega zone. Because it'd be safer for you, wouldn't it? But then you wouldn't have all the info. So you'd be like, where's he getting that? I had to strike a balance with like what to show you and what not to show you. So I wanted to show you as much as I could. Anyway, so yeah. The SOCOM762-MINI2. Surefire says it's optimized for 7.62 weapons with 16 inches and longer barrels. How do I know that? I read it on the website, on Surefire's website. And they have a photo of an AK on the website. And I thought that was interesting. They don't say 7.62 by 51, but they also don't say 7.62 by 39. So I'm like, what 7.62 are they talking about? Anecdotal user reports indicate that people tend to like it on 300 blackout and they like it on 7.62 by 39. I don't know if that has any meaning. I'll need to test it to see what happens. Like I said before, and like I said in the article, 5.56 data for this silencer is forthcoming. I have it. I have done it. I have done the testing. And so we will speak about that when I publish that. I had to test it on the Mark 18, right? There was come on, guys. It's a really good data point because it's the exact same size as the 5.56 RC2, right? So you got to wonder, you're like, oh my God, like they put a bigger hole. Oh, the baffle's a little different. Like, what does it do? Does the flow rate compensate? Like, does it have, like, it has lower back pressure? Is it going to be better at the shooter's ear? Is it too loud at the muzzle? Is that going to be bad? Is it going to be a wash? What's going to happen? I have one. I want to use it on 5.56. Should I? Dude, good questions. All good questions. Thank you for your patience. I will publish it. I promise. Okay. Just not right now. Now, all in all, I will say, pretty interesting silencer. I don't know if you know me, you don't, but you have heard me talk for 156 episodes, and you know that I am a fan of Surefire silencers. I think they're nice. I like how they feel in my hand. They're smooth. They have a heft to them. They're pretty. They have good flash reduction. I think this is an interesting silencer. Good flash reduction, not too large, high flow rate, way better than no silencer at all. Of the Legacy K silencers made of steel, I'd rock one if I had to. You could do worse, maybe. Wait. Let me go back to the chart. Hold on. Yeah, like you could use a Salmon K. I wouldn't use the Salmon K or a Short Radiant. I would definitely use a Mini 2 over those two. Hey, remember the Resonator K? It's a pretty good silencer. Not my style, though. I'm more of a Surefire guy, I think. Just like me personally, right? I don't know. I'm not really a YHM guy. I like YHM silencers. I think they're cool, and I think YHM is a cool company. I think the owners of YHM are awesome people too. They're just not. I don't like the way they look. That's just my personal, like, right. Everyone has a thing, right? Everyone has like their own like personal biases, and he's biased. No, everyone has their own personal preferences and biases of their every human, right? If you're a human, you have a bias towards something because you're human. Every human has some kind of bias, and preference about what you want. And I tend to I think Surefire silencers are cool. Now, when I say I rock one if I have to, well, I do. I mean, there's a Surefire mount on my Scar right now. It's because the way I was using that weapon, I wanted a QD, I wanted something short. I wanted to put the silencer through his paces too, because I wanted to know. I actually did that before I tested it too, because sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do little studies for myself and for you. Sometimes I have, and sometimes people are like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I'm like, this is trust the process, okay? I had a feeling. I knew because the Scar is so gas sensitive. I saw an excellent opportunity to compare it to the Hyperion K and the OSS, and that's what I did. Okay, and so it's interesting. What I shot at not under night vision. Flash is good on this silencer with a 13-inch Scar, but you know what else the flash is good with on the 13-inch Scar? The Hyperion K from CGS. That's titanium. Still awesome at flash reduction. Now I have a special end cap on my Hyperion K. I didn't try that with a normal end cap, but whatever. Okay, so those are my experiences. I'm just telling you my experiences with my Scar at night. Big thanks to Pew Science members. A lot of you actually wanted this data and analysis. People have been asking for this for a long time. I used internal funding to make it happen. I hope it's useful for you. Okay, I know it's useful for the industry because I saw the traffic when I released it. There's a ton of people on the website. I looked at the traffic in real time, dude. I'm a heavy user of analytics, as you can imagine. Does he look at data? I don't know, maybe. Does Jay at Pew Science use data for anything? One thing I'll say, just to close this topic, the last thing I'll say about this, I have published a lot of Surefire information. Like I was talking, I think I spoke about this in the opening of the topic. I've published a lot of Surefire information, and you have to understand this came from normal research progression. They're not a client, but I have spoken with them, and I have a cordial relationship with them. At least from my end, it seems cordial. I don't know. They might be getting aggravated at me because I'm talking about the work comp so much. I hope not. I mean, I wouldn't blame them. It's okay. And I don't hold back. If you know me. I don't sugarcoat things. Their R&D folks and I have spoken. I do think we may work together in the future. I do think that. I don't know for sure, but I think we probably will. But one of the big reasons I've published a lot of Surefire stuff, besides the normal progression, is the proliferation of the silencers. Okay, Surefire silencers transcend consumer and military and law enforcement worlds. They transcend the three worlds. These things are everywhere, dude. They're some of the most prolific silencers in the market, and I try to help the most people with these member-funded reviews. I do, and I think we've done that. Okay? I think we've done that. So again, I hope all of this helps, and I do think, and I'm serious when I say this, there is more Surefire data and analysis at pewscience.com than anywhere else on planet Earth. And there is no second place. There's no second place. If this was a game, there would be a podium. We would be on it right here. And there would be some people in the audience, like maybe looking for parking. They wouldn't be able to get in the door. We're so far ahead. Okay, of public data that and you know who probably has more data than Pew Science? Crane Weapons Lab for the Navy. Is their data as good as Pew Science's data? They probably have some different data that's better because I don't have it. But I say their signature data is not as good. I don't think their sound signature data is as good at all. Well, I know it's not actually. So that's something I wanted to put in perspective for you if you're not thinking about it that way, but you should. I might not be here forever, so just let you know, man. This is like, if you're a Surefire guy, you don't even need to be a Pew Science member. I don't care. If you're a Surefire person and you like Surefire silencers and you like using them and you want to know how to get most out of them and everything, go to pewscience.com, go to the free ranking section, look at the data. I think it'll help you. And I guarantee you you're not going to find anything as good for Surefire and its performance evaluation anywhere in the world, unless you work for the U.S. government or something. And even then, questionable. Okay. Topic 2, at a time of 50 minutes and 59 seconds. That's right. Boom. I don't know why. No, I do like that Surefire silencer. I think their silencers are cool. It's not quiet, though. It's funny. When I released the review, people were like, if anyone thought that was quiet, blah, 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 blah. I was like, dude, I didn't know what to expect. The first time I shot it, I was like, oh, that was loud. Topic 2, 3 years. 3 years since the silencer sound standard and the Pew Science suppression rating became reality. They were launched in March of 2020, and it's funny how, not funny, it's interesting how the silencer industry has changed since then. It's been 3 years. Guys, it's been 3 years. 3 years. This past Sunday was 3 years. The 26th of March is the birthday of the silencer sound standard, the suppression rating, the sound signature reviews, the Section 6 of the standard there, the whole standard. Now, Section 7 wasn't there at the beginning. I didn't have the ranking section yet because, there was only like 2 reviews. But, in 2020, on that day is when I launched this publicly. No one saw it before launch. I'm talking nobody saw it before launch. Now, some people saw PewSoft and me doing things with PewSoft before launch, but no one saw the standard in its form, like published like that before launch day. And you can see it. You can still see the social media post on all my accounts. It's there, and you can see who was tagged, and you can, because those are the people I talked about it with, and you can see who commented, and you can see who liked it, and you can see what they said about it. And if you go back even further, you can see what people were saying about me when I was working on PewSoft. And I talked about it, PewSoft, before I launched the standard. And before all of this started, a lot of companies thought I was just some silencer consumer that liked silencers. And they were not wrong. But what they didn't realize, because they didn't listen when I told them, I spoke to them in person and I said it to their face. They didn't listen when I told them that I wanted to use my engineering expertise to improve the industry, and I was going to do that in this way. And they didn't listen to me, and they didn't want to hear it. And a dealer in Virginia approached me to buy PewSoft. They wanted to buy it back then. It was before I launched the standard. They wanted to buy it. He told me if he had it, he could measure the performance of silencers and do all of this. And I told him that's not what it's for. It's not what Pew Science is for. And so they all asked me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with PewSoft? And I told them, well, I'm going to consult. I'm going to do research, offer consulting services. And so for 3 years I did that. For 3 years I have done that. Consulting services, for you listening, that's what I do for you every week on the podcast, as I consult for you. I'm giving you my advice, my expertise. speaking to a microphone for you. I write articles for you. I do things that you can't do. That's what consultants do. They do things that either you can't do or don't have time to do, can't afford to do. And using expertise, right? Not only this industry, there's all kinds of industries that do this. Some people don't like consultants. That's okay. You don't have to like them. But I do it for you listening. I do consulting for the manufacturers that make the silencers. I do it for the dealers and the distributors, the silencers, and everybody that reads the website. It's public consulting. And by profession, I am a consulting engineer. That's what I do. It's my job. And Pew Science is exactly what I have always done, just applied to silencers. I am in the business of protecting people from hazardous events. That's what I do. That's my career. Okay? I think sometimes some of you think I just started this. I'm doing this like this because I already do this stuff. I had a head start. Okay? That's the difference between what I do and what the rest of the firearm industry does. Okay? I'm not in it, guys. I come from elsewhere, and I'm just bringing this to this industry to help you. And I want all of you to understand. I want all of you to understand that I am going to do this for as long as I am able to, because I know it's helping people. But I also want you to understand that this is not normal, okay? And there are not others like me that have the knowledge and the firearm obsession and the drive to do it. They don't have those three things together. It just doesn't. And so it's not normal, and it will most likely not continue after I'm gone unless I pass the torch. So it is likely that I will pass that torch eventually. And for now, it's just me, and I'm going to continue to build the pedigree. Okay, so on this 3-year anniversary, I just want to tell you that's where I am. That's what I'm doing. That's what I can. That's what I can offer you. That's what I can do for you, and that's what I'm doing. Okay, I can't do more than that or give you more information than that at this time. Okay, so I want to just address you now, and I want, for those of you who don't know me, like I'm not. Like I don't run a gun company, right? That's not, like I didn't work a gun counter, or I don't do tactical training or whatever. No, I'm a consulting engineer that specializes in helping people not die and minimizing the amount of people that die. And so now I'm also a consulting engineer in this industry, minimizing the damage to your hearing from unsuppressed from unprotected ears. You see, how you see I do my job here is the same way I do it other places. It's just in this industry there's no regulation, so I can have a podcast and talk and talking to a microphone, and there's no like consequences. You see, it's more creative because it's like, do whatever you want, right? It's cool, right? So yeah, so how has the industry changed? Well, I was thinking about it. My primary goal was to educate you folks and myself. I wanted to learn just as much as you want to know, just as much as you want the data, just as much as you want the suppression rating and the flow rate and the sound signatures, just as much as you want that third-party data, so you're not, the manufacturers aren't blowing your skirt up. Just as much as you want all that, I do too. And I hope you see that, because I would not be doing this if I didn't want it to. It'd be so crazy, right? Like you got to want it. That's one of the things. Part of my drive is I'm enthusiastic and I'm passionate about this. Without that, there is no way I would do this. And you got to know that. No one would do this if they didn't like it. It's insane. It's an insane amount of work, right? So I knew I couldn't do it without monetizing it. And I had to have monetary support because it's not sustainable without that. It's just not. Okay, it's simply impossible. It's impossible to do it without funding. So I came up with a way to make it cheap for people and it's helping it to keep happening. It's helping it to continue. So thank you for your support. So the industry changing, back to this point here, the industry changing, when we think about that, we have to think about it in context, okay? It changed because people started to have skin in the game. You might be thinking, well, what is he talking about? I don't care. No. Listen. People have skin in the game monetarily, mentally, educationally, philosophically, pragmatically, idealistically. You care now, don't you? I made you care. You all of you. You wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't care. Isn't that cool? And that's why the industry is different now. People started to care. Caring is important. You're aware. You can't launch a silencer in the United States as a company without someone asking for third-party data and analysis from Pew Science. You can't. It's impossible. I've seen it. It doesn't happen. It took 3 years for us to get to that point. 3 years. Air Precision couldn't launch a silencer. FN can't launch. SIG. No one can launch a silencer without people asking for Pew Science data. Daniel Defense. These are huge companies. That's real. You've seen it. You listening, you can't have confidence in manufacturer performance claims without Pew Science data. And you know why I can be so bold as to say that? Because I can't. I can't have confidence in manufacturer performance claims without Pew Science data. You feel me? I can't. So if I can't, and you know what I know because I've shown you what I know, well then how could you? Unless you have something that I don't have, and you need to help me with that because it would make Pew Science better. You understand? This is public. Isn't that cool? That's what I'm talking about, right? So that's this, and these are big, and some people, I've seen people say this. You know, I don't really read a lot of comments and reviews of me because I think it's weird. It'll get your mind all weird. But I do sometimes see what people say about me, and sometimes the people say I'm conceited. Which I've been accused of before, and that's okay. But I'm a very confident person. I'm very confident. I'm very aggressive and forward, and I do understand how sometimes what I say. Sometimes I understand how things I say can be construed as conceited, and I own that. I own that. But I'm telling you how the industry has changed, and when I say that you can't launch a silencer in the United States without someone asking for the third-party data from Pew Science, and that you can't have confidence in manufacturer's performance claims without Pew Science data, I'm saying that honestly, and I think that's true. And you know another thing that really changed? Many dealers don't feel right recommending silencers to people without the data. And they've told me this, and you know, you may say, "Oh, that's not true." No, it's true because I have a lot of. You go to the pewscience.com. What did I do? What did I put on the website? Hold on. What is it? Oh yeah, you hover over services and support, and you scroll down. You click supporters there. Corporate supporters of Pew Science. Look how many dealers are on there. A lot of those dealers, they're not going to sell silencers to people without knowing how they perform. And I want you to be careful. I want you to be careful with that sentiment. I don't want you to twist these words. What I'm saying, to be clear, I'm not saying that these dealers don't feel comfortable recommending silencers to their customers unless they have a high suppression rating. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they want to know what the suppression rating is. You feel me? Sound is not always the most important thing, but if you don't understand what the hearing damage risk is before you buy it, before you sell it to someone, you're dead in the water. If you don't know where you are, look, if you don't have a map, how are you going to get out? If you can't see, how are you gonna navigate? Okay, dealers know this. They tell me it gives them confidence because if you're a good person and you really care about people, and you provide them with a service, like let's say you're a dealer and you sell silencers and you care about your customer, like you actually care and you want to do the right thing. Are you going to recommend a silencer to someone that's loud if they are asking for something that's quiet? Now, I'm using that as a simple example. The answer is no. Because if you did that knowingly, that would be malpractice. Is there a regulation in the firearms industry to punish you if you violate that code of ethics? Absolutely not. You can do whatever you want. You can lie to people all day. Okay? But there's a moral compass inside you. And a lot of people have it. There's a lot of really good people, and you can see a lot of them on, a lot of the people on the pewscience.com/supporters page are really good people. And they tell me verbatim, it gives them confidence to know what they're getting. I haven't tested every silencer, but I tested a bunch, and it helps them. It at least gives them a peg point, okay? It at least gives them a peg point, and that's important, okay? So that's another big change in the industry. People have a resource. The people selling to you, if you're a consumer, they have a resource. What's another change? Companies are using the data for development. That's a big change. A lot of those companies on the website, they don't sell silencers necessarily. Some of them are manufacturers. Some of them are trying to do stuff, and they want to know what their competitors are doing. They're keeping a pulse on it. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? And they also have a vested interest. You got to understand, the advanced membership for Pew Science is not very expensive for a corporation. It's a very small fee for the amount of for two things. It's a small amount of money for them to get access to the member data, and it's a very small amount of money to help guarantee this thing keeps going. Because this is helping a lot of people, and it's in everyone's best interest to contribute to it. Because it's not that expensive. You see what I mean? Like, I did it on purpose because I knew I needed it to continue, or it wouldn't be good for anybody. You see, this is all symbiotic. It's cool, right? It's cool. Another thing I noticed that was happening in this past 3 years, big companies are using words they never used before, like the word impulse. You see, like Rugged used the word impulse in like a marketing thing, like earlier this year. I think it was the Razor 556. Maybe that was last year, or whatever. Like I don't think a lot of these companies are using the word impulse 100% technically correct, but that's okay. When they're using it, babies, you understand? There are things that are happening here. There is an influence tide that is coming in. Okay, and you know what I think? One of the biggest changes in the past 3 years is in the silencer industry, folks are listening to the consumer. Folks are listening to the consumer more and more and more. The customer is important. The consumer is important. What good is your product if the end user doesn't have value or find value in it? If it's not meeting the end user's needs, why are you making it? You know what I mean? Now the consumer is empowered, and you have objective third-party information that it can't be taken away from you, and companies are listening to you, demanding something. And that is, out of all the stuff that's on my website, all the technical, yes, the suppression rating is very nice. It's brilliant. It's great. The Omega metrics are very cool. It works, seems to work well. The reviews, it's very nice. The podcast is cool. It's fun for me. Some of you like it. Those are all great things, and I think it's awesome. But the biggest point of pride for me in this effort, it's that this information can't be taken away from you. It's what I'm most proud of. I am proud of what has been built with all of your help for you, for the people, by the people. And it came to my attention recently, and I can't believe this still, but it came to my attention recently that some of those entities dating back to the 2020 launch, they're still complaining to people that I'm not going to license PewSoft or something. Like, I don't even, guys, look what we've built. I don't understand why those folks think they could do this if they had PewSoft. If you go to the Pew Science website, I tell all of you, I tell the whole public, PewSoft is just a tool. It's just a tool. And I was thinking about this. How am I going to get this point across, this overall point across, and tie this all together? But since this past Sunday was the 3rd anniversary of this whole crazy journey, I'm going to read the first section of the Silencer Sound Standard to you from the website. I think I'm going to read it. Every time someone says I have said something different than what is in the standard, it shows you they've never read it. So what I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to go to Silencer Sound Standard section 1, the first section. I'm gonna read this real quick because I think there's a lot of new people listening, and this is my show, and it's the effort I created, and this is the 3rd anniversary, and I painstakingly tweaked the section when I wrote it at night after work for a year. I worked on this effort every day of my life for a year after work. Every day I come home and work on this because I knew it was going to be every day. I tweaked and I wrote and I changed and I wanted it to be perfect. And it says, forget everything you know about gunshot noise. Well, maybe not everything. You know that gunshots are loud. How loud? That depends. Loudness is a function of peak sound pressure, duration of sound pressure, wave frequency of sound pressure, and finally, the physical response of your ears to sound pressure. Does it seem overwhelming? It should seem overwhelming. There are various methods by which humans have characterized loudness over the years, and we do it pretty well. But not everyone does it the same way, especially when the sounds happen very quickly. And as a freedom-loving American, scientist, engineer, hunter, shooter, and firearms enthusiast, I decided that I wanted consistent and meaningful characterization of firearm sound signatures that could be applied to the measurement of both unsuppressed and suppressed firearms. And to be clear, the decades of effort of those in the acoustics community, the blast community, private, public, academic, they're all to be lauded and recognized. And rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I have chosen to build upon the current state of practice. How did I do that? By using existing nomenclature and terminology where appropriate, improving upon existing methodology where possible and practical, and introducing new methods of combining them with established and peer-reviewed science to improve the state of practice. All of the data that you obtain on this website has been physically measured by Pew Science. All testing, all measurement is performed with custom software and hardware that Pew Science has written and configured for the express purpose of providing the firearms industry with accurate sound signature information. This software and hardware combination is named PewSoft. PewSoft is a tool. The Silencer Sound Standard is Pew Science's contribution to the community of a living data set and analytical methodology using that tool. All empirical data presented on this website is experimentally reproducible by anyone who chooses to put forth the effort to do so. There is no subjectivity or opinion presented herein unless explicitly stated as such. Now grab your favorite beverage, relax, and take a look at some data. Thanks, guys. Stay safe out there. I can't wait to see what the next 3 years of this brings us, man. I don't know if you know how long it took to do this. It's crazy. Imagine over a year, every day you come home from work tired. You have a family. You have a job. Life happens. Every day you're working on something. You don't even know if anyone's going to care. But then every time you think about giving up, you know that if you don't do it, there's going to be a problem, and people are going to still be confused about silencers and keep buying loud stuff that hurts their ears all the time and wait for a whole year and be disappointed. The industry stagnates. Everything looks the same. Everyone gets their info from YouTube. Not on my watch, dude. No. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.